Hi, my name is Scott Hall, and I am InterVarsity's National Director of Justice Programs. And I wanted to give a summary of some of the lessons that I learned and that my team learned when we did an online justice program a few weeks back at the beginning of quarantine for coronavirus. What I'd like to do is share the structures we used, the content we used, and then some of the takeaways in that order. So we had 35 spring break programs that were going to happen, almost all of which were canceled because of social distancing. So we pretty quickly decided, well, let's try something online. We made that decision 5 days before we were trying to pull it off. And by the time our registration went up 5 days before. And by the time we started, we had 200 folks signed up. By the end of our week, we had 300 signed up. So that was a pretty cool response. 110 of those were InterVarsity staff. And I was struck by that. Staff didn't have to go to this, but there was a draw there, which was significant. In terms of what we did and how we did it, we had 5 days in a row, 90 minutes each time. And one really important thing that we got feedback on is we really kept things moving. Nothing went for very long. So we had corporate prayer together. We had spiritual disciplines that were specifically embodied, and I'll mention that more in a minute. We had a content session, and our main content was still, we kept it at 15 minutes. We did question and answer, and then we ended with breakout rooms. Really important other detail, though, is two things. One, we always had application that students and staff were doing that very day because they met in the evening in small groups online to process what they were doing. And it really built community that way. Some of the big takeaways. One, people were really hungering for community. Many folks were convicted of an individualistic mindset and were really actually kind of yearning to step out of that, to experience community, but also to think collectively about how we could work together for God's purposes. Secondly, we used the chat really strategically. We called it our Amen Corner, and we defined it very intentionally. We said this is not the place to sort of give critique or troll people, sort of like a YouTube comment section, but a place for affirmation, for reiterating a line that someone spoke that convicted you, or for just saying amen. And this proved really important in terms of people engaging each other in community in the midst of the content, and was specifically helpful for folk of color who are used to a more interactive mode in the midst of teaching and a sermon. That was the Amen Corner. And then lastly, I would say it was just really significant that the community, that there was a theme that emerged that came out of 1 Corinthians 12 of being the body, and when one suffers, all suffer together. And I think people are really hungry for that. So if you would like to learn more from that, I'd love you to come check out our webinar. There were wonderful lessons. The lessons keep going, but it's a chance for you to learn from some of our first steps and enjoy doing online content. Bye-bye.